for a lot of people, it'd be really scary for them to be so open about their journey, of their spirituality, of their relationship, of their business, of who they are. And it might be scary for them, but we've been lucky enough to witness so much of it publicly. What has that process been like? And have you ever been scared to share about things that you're going through?
There's always going to be some fear, right? You get over the fear quickly, though, when you realize that the more you share, typically the better it's received, you know, and like the more honest, like the only blanket that's ever going to keep you warm is the truth. Anything else is just a constant level of exhaustion, of strategizing and living in the mind and always focused on this. It's like, how do you really drop into the art if you're constantly strategizing on what you're going to share, what you're not going to share? So yes, it takes some courage, but also once you start doing it, you realize the great relief that comes with it. And people don't really realize that. Like, for example, we had a ridiculous situation happen with this music festival that we were promoting. It's called Arcadia. I don't know when this is coming out, so it might already be done. But fundamentally, what happened was we were planning to do this in Wyoming. And I got word from my team, and there's a guy on the ground, then there's a festival coordinator, then there's a team coordinator, and then there's me. I get word at 11 p.m., celebrating my anniversary with my wife, that our permits for the festival have been pulled 4 weeks out. I was speechless. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. I didn't even think of this as a possible reality, right? Wow. Next day, move into action. We still haven't gotten official communication from the town, but the word was that they were having their lawyers draft a letter. So I make all the moves necessary. We book into Meow Wolf in Las Vegas as a backup because they have the infrastructure set up that could actually allow us to make a pivot like this so that we wouldn't have to reschedule. And we're already getting crushed in a lot of the logistics that were non-canceled or whatever. But it was the best thing I could do to keep this thing from happening, even though it's going to be a big loss. It was going to be a big loss no matter what. So, all right, we'll keep this happening. We just move it. Find out the next day or later that day, as all the wheels have already been in motion and announcements have been made, that the town didn't actually pull the permits and that somehow the information had gotten to me incorrectly. But there was rumors that the town was going to pull the permits. And it was this whole thing where I was like, oh, wow, you got to be kidding me. I already announced that the town pulled the permits. So then ultimately, there's another situation where we're having to tell all of the ticket holders that they have to switch. And then I got to go back and say, hey, and by the way, actually the information that I told you guys was actually not true, and this wasn't true. So I said that, but then the town or somebody from the town posted a thing like, we never pulled the permits. This rumor was a lie, blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, I was been in touch with the county clerk of the town, and we had an email exchange, and I just took responsibility. I was like, yo, like, I'm really sorry. This is the information that came to me. And I don't know if the rumors that they're still saying are true. Only you would know. But like, this is the information I got. These were the moves that I made. And I invite all of you guys to come to our festival in Vegas if you want. And it was just radical accountability. And she responded. She's like, thanks for your message and for clearing that up. So anyways, someone from the town or somebody posted that they didn't actually pull the permits. Now, I'd shared this with the group, but I didn't go into like the very details of it. And then there was this big thing that started like, actually the permits weren't pulled and Aubrey's been lying to us. And this was all a secret documentary. It was all a secret plan to, to like move this. And it was a false flag. And it was like, and I get it. We're trained to think of that. We're trained to think of that because of how dishonest the whole world is.
Bless.
And then so some people on our team were like, what should we do? Should we hire a PR specialist to come in and help us through this? And I was like, no, I'm just going to scratch out the names and I'll show the email correspondence with who I was talking to. I'll tell them exactly what happened. And if that's not good enough, nothing is good enough.
Yeah.
Like, so that's exactly what I did. And everything quieted. And this is just one of dozens of examples when I was CEO of On It and there was a security breach and all of this. Like, the truth is your only salvation. And the more you deviate from that, from strategy, like the more risk you're actually taking. So yeah, it might be scary, but it's actually less scary. Because they're like, you just trust the truth?
Yes.
Then there's nothing to fucking worry about. And if there is, If the world can't handle your truth, that's the world's problem. You know, like fundamentally, it's like, do you really want to fight that battle your whole life where you're, you know, no, just tell the truth. Now, that doesn't mean that there can't be certain things that are private. So let me play like the other side. There is this idea that truth can have a temple. So like the idea of a temple used to house wisdom that was for people who were ready to receive the wisdom inside the temple. And so that's what privacy is. Privacy is creating a temple. And the temple allows only the people that you want in the temple because they would trample on that information. And so there is a place to hold privacy of certain things, certain health conditions or certain things that are happening that you want only your inner circle to really know about. And of course, all of us have that stuff. But if pressed for some other reason and like people were storming the gates, like, I must know what's in the temple. Okay, here it is. You know, like if you really like, fine. But still, like having the permission to like hold certain things within the temple constructs, I think that's important. And then the final thing that I'll address in this question is, are there things that I'm still afraid of in sharing, right? Like, are there things, and again, that's not considering private things. There's private conversations that I have with my wife and private, like, of course. But is there something that I'm still afraid of? And yeah, maybe. And actually not maybe, but like, yeah. Like, what if, this is a fear. Like, what if I keep continuing on this spiritual path? And what if things get even more intensely profound, right? Like, what is the history of people in Western culture? I'm already getting attacked a lot for no particular reason. Like the inherent vulnerability of stepping out even further is intense. You know, like the more open it seems like you get and the more you step into your full authority, the more vicious the attacks become. And like that's, you know, I'm 87% Jewish in my lineage, right? Like the cross is a memory in my DNA. I'm not saying I'm going to be Jesus or anything, or nor that they're crosses, but the attacks come with pixels instead of pitchforks now, you know, and the attacks hurt, you know, they do, they hurt. There's still some fear for what is happening and will happen as I continue to move down this path, and knowing that the attacks are more vicious. And ultimately, that's about the courage to just step into, to continue to trust and step into my dharma and step into my truth, and whatever comes ultimately. And that's, but that does require, it just requires courage, and it requires the willingness to withstand what is inevitably going to come, because nobody steps forward in a big way, and people don't come for them. It's just the nature of our reality. But also, there's a lot of love and a lot of transformation that's going to come. So, better to live, you know, like a vulnerable lion than you know, a quiet mouse.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Morning Microdose by Almost 30.
We hope you enjoyed waking up.
As always, we encourage you to take what resonates and leave the rest. If you enjoyed this trip, tune into the full episode on the Almost 30 podcast. All episode information can be found in the show notes.
Make sure to subscribe, and if this becomes a part of your morning routine, be sure to share it with a friend. We have new inspiring doses Monday through Friday. Follow us on Instagram at Morning Microdose, and follow Almost 30 at Almost 30 Podcast.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the vortex.